Hey you guys, it's me. Today I wanted to make a video about compassion and forgiveness. Now I know I made a video previously about this on my last channel, but I wanted to kind of address this because it was something um, that really changed me. Well, not entirely, but changed an aspect of my life and myself. Um, that has helped me to see how important it is for us to be compassionate towards one another. And to be honest, it's still something that I'm working on. Sometimes it can be, sometimes we can still fall into sort of, not so good habits that we've picked up in the past. And, change sometimes doesn't come easy, but it doesn't mean that it's not worthwhile. Um, so what inspired me to readdress this was an incident that happened where an ex-partner of mine, he was actually my first boyfriend, um, and that was like years ago, like 9 years ago, and when we were together. But recently, about a month or so ago, he called me kind of out of the blue and wanted to talk to me. And in the beginning I was a bit hesitant. I was like, oh, whatever, because that relationship wasn't a good relationship at all. So I was kind of like hesitant, but he was persistent, and he just kept on saying, he really wanted to talk to me about things that happened in the past and all this other stuff. And I was like, okay. So in the end I decided to go and meet up, and I'm happy I did, because that conversation gave me a lot of closure that to I needed it for myself. I needed it for my spirit, because I was carrying a lot of resentment and upset about that relationship, and I believe it was to the point that it did affect my relationships thereafter, because it was challenging for me. When I was very young, my dad walked out and left when I was like 4 years old, and me and my dad never really had much of a relationship. And that was, obviously very challenging for me. And then after that, to have like your first partner lie to you, cheat on you, all this other stuff, it was, it really made me think a certain way about guys. And even though I wanted to be positive, because I've always been that kind of person that, truly believes not everyone is the same. So I don't believe in painting everyone with the same brush. But I think those experiences, it did carry with me. And it definitely made me not very trusting of men in general. And I'm not the kind of girlfriend to snoop on a guy or anything like that, or go down his phone or anything like that. Like, that's just not me. But I think what it did make me do is it made me put up defenses against guys. So it was a thing where I just didn't want somebody to get too close, if you get what I'm saying. I didn't want to open up myself too much. I didn't want to make myself vulnerable in a relationship, because to me there always was this thing at the back of my head that made me think that, oh, this relationship is probably not going to work out, and he's probably going to just leave and all this other stuff. Those were the issues that I was dealing with. And to be honest, it's still issues that I'm dealing with, because I'm 27 years old. It took me, I mean, that the incident that happened with my dad was when I was 4, so we're talking like 23 years. So it's like, if you've done something for 23 years of your life, you're not going to get over it in a space of weeks or even months. It takes time to really be able to deal with those issues. But I have to say, the conversation me and him had really helped me to sort of to give me the sense of healing that I needed in terms of that relationship, which I'm so grateful for. In the conversation we had, it you know he told me the problems that he was going through, and that was the very first time he was ever really honest with me. Like, the years I've known him, he's never really been that honest. But this time, the last time we met, he was very honest with me. He told me everything that happened. He told me everything that he was going through, and I didn't know that he was going through such a challenging time in his life, to be honest, because he kept certain things from me. But when he told me, and I could see how open he was with me, And then, he sincerely asked me, for my forgiveness. He was like, I know I did all these things. And he was very apologetic, and I told him, what you did really hurt me. And he genuinely looked sad about it. And it's not that I wanted him to feel sad per se. It was a case of I wanted him to know how I was feeling, and at the same time be able to understand where he was coming from, which happened in the conversation. And for that, I was, really grateful. To be honest, when I stopped speaking to him and I left that after the conversation, I did feel quite raw emotionally. Like, I left feeling quite sad. I think because it brought me back to that feeling of when I was 17, 18, and when we were in that relationship. And I think that was such an emotional time that it, like, we're talking about it after all them years, it seemed to be like opening up, a wound almost. But at the same time, I think sometimes that's what you have to do in order to experience some form of healing thereafter. But what this whole thing is about is, when I first left, I didn't really want to forgive him, to be honest. I still wanted to hold on to the anger. And I think a lot of the time that's what we do. It's like we don't want to forgive. We still want to be mad because that person did us wrong and they were so bad. And we want them to feel bad and everything. But the thing is about that is, then no one can heal, and then everyone feels like crap, and then it's like you don't move on, you never get over it. And I just don't want to be that person that can't get over something. Like, I want to be that person that can just put a period and be like, okay, this is the closure that we've both experienced, let's just move on from here and move onwards and upwards. And so after that, he did call me again, and then in that conversation I told him that, I accept your apology. I can understand where you came from. And to be honest, it wasn't even that I just said I accept your apology. I honestly, after talking with him and sitting down and contemplating all that happened, within my heart, I could feel the ease. Like, I could feel like it was leaving me. The anger was leaving me. The resentment was leaving me. Because it's like now, for the first time, I felt compassion for him. And compassion is one of the most spiritual things that you can feel for someone else. Because compassion means that you can literally just, you can feel what that person is feeling, and you can just let it go. You can let go of everything, because you can understand that, what, I'm not perfect, he's not perfect. Whatever he did in his life, that's what he did. I'm going to make mistakes, he's going to make mistakes, and it is okay, because I'm not 18 anymore. I'm 27 years old, and certain things happen to teach us certain lessons and for us to experience certain things. And that was just something I needed to experience, and that was something he needed to experience. But now that we can both move on, and it can be okay. And I think the reason why I also wanted to talk about compassion is because it reminded me so much of what, Nelson Mandela stood for. It's like, how was he able to forgive people that, imprisoned him for basically standing up for what he believed in, and actually doing something that was going to be so beneficial to so many people. But because of, you have people that are against you, and you have people that don't want to see that vision, then obviously, they throw you up in a jail cell for, so many years. And to come out and to not be angry, but to have compassion, is like, that's a huge thing. But it's so healing. It is so healing, and it's so freeing, and it's just one of the most beautiful things in the world you can have for someone. It's not an easy thing to experience, but I'm telling you, when you do, it's wonderful, because it's like, then you're not a prisoner of your own anger and your hatred, and just, wanting to seek revenge. Because all of that stuff, even if you get revenge, you're never gonna feel good about it. It's like, it's never gonna be enough if you still have that hatred in your heart. It's like a disease. It would just eat you up, and it would just never feel better. You're never gonna feel better within yourself. But compassion, it just makes you feel like, so light and so free to be able to just relinquish all of that negative stuff and to just move into a more positive, uplifting place is a wonderful thing. That's why I would say, if there's somebody in your life that you're just struggling to forgive, please have compassion for that person. Have understanding, because sometimes even if somebody hurts you, they may not even be intending to hurt you. Honestly, you know, it's like even my dad, like I can see that I have to have compassion for him. Even though for the longest time I was angry, I have to have compassion because I don't know the full story as to why he left. And to be honest, I don't believe it's that my dad doesn't love me, because he has, you know, been contacting me. And I feel that I know that he cares. So I need to know that it's not that he's an evil person. It's not that he doesn't love me, but some circumstances happened, and that's just was the result of it. So